Hey friends, this is Rick Renner, and today I'm sitting outside having a cup of coffee while I am studying my Bible. I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and tomorrow night Denise and I are getting ready to minister at Sharon Doherty's church, Victory Christian Center. It's quite a day here in Tulsa. But I want to share a verse with you from Ephesians 6 and verse 14 to pick up on where we were yesterday. It says, "Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth." When Paul begins to describe the weapons of our warfare, he begins by talking about the loin belt, which was the most central of all the pieces of weaponry. It was a big belt which went around the middle of the waist, and it covered your loins. It covered your reproductive organs. It was a very important piece of weaponry. But there was a little snap on the side where you hung your sword. There was a snap on the other side where you hung your shield. There was a pouch on the back of the loin belt where you put your arrows or your lances. Your breastplate was attached to the loin belt. All of your primary pieces were connected to the loin belt, and in fact the loin belt was wrapped all the way around the breastplate, which held the breastplate together, because the breastplate was made of two different pieces, one that went down the front, one that went down the back, and if something didn't hold it together, it would flap when you ran, or it would flap in the wind. So the loin belt was the central and the most important piece of weaponry. Now, if you saw a Roman soldier, probably first you would notice his helmet, which was elaborate, or perhaps you would have noticed his shield, which was fabulous, or maybe you would have noticed his breastplate, which was shiny, or his sword, which was deadly. Very few people would have said, "Wow, what a loin belt." But the loin belt held everything together. It was the central piece of weaponry, and without the loin belt, everything would come apart. The loin belt is the Word of God. Having your loins girt about with truth. Now, the sword of the Spirit is the Word of God. That's something different. That's a sword. That's a quickened rhema that's given to you at a word's moment. But the loin belt is the Word of God. And isn't it interesting that this is the only piece of weaponry that you can physically touch with your hands, you can visibly look at with your eyes, and it is the most central piece. If you have the Word of God in your life, you will have faith. It'll be right here on your side. If you have the Word of God in your life, you'll have that rhema when you need it. If you have the Word of God in your life, you will be able to maintain your sense of righteousness, your breastplate of righteousness. If you have the Word of God in your life, you'll have peace. The Word of God is the most central piece of weaponry which God has given to the Roman soldier. And that's why Paul begins with the loin belt of truth. So today I want you to think about, what kind of role does the Word of God have in your life? Does it have that central role that it demands? And if you're experiencing condemnation, maybe it's because you're not spending time in the Word. If you don't have that sharp rhema from the Spirit that you need, it's going to come out of the Word of God. How about your peace? The peace of God will rule in your heart if the Word of God rules in your heart. How about your ability to reproduce? Do you find that you're being able to be productive in your life, or do you feel like your productivity has been slowed down? This is the loin belt of truth. The more you are in the Word of God, it gives you the supernatural ability to produce. But when we come back tomorrow, we're going to continue where Paul says, having on the breastplate of righteousness. But I think that for today, that's enough for you to think about.